Hello. So we are here today talking about why bigger isn't always best. And I know this isn't the norm when it comes down to wedding planning, because let's be honest, most of us, when we envision our weddings, we envision this very large, really extravagant celebration with every single person we know, which isn't necessarily the wrong thing. However, are we not considering other options? And are we not considering the fact that maybe an intimate wedding is going to be more suited to what actually we would like to achieve on our wedding day? So we are here to discuss a little bit more about intimate weddings today, and actually the benefits of having an intimate wedding to maybe allow you to have another option or another opportunity to think about before planning your wedding day itself, because it's very easy for us all to get completely swept away in the hustle and bustle of social media and Pinterest and all these wonderful things, and think that actually a very large extravagant celebration is the only way a wedding could be. Because actually I can assure you that maybe a smaller or intimate wedding would actually suit you more, and not just suit you more. Actually, there are many reasons why an intimate wedding is something to consider when you are planning your wedding. So let's dive in and discuss these some more. First and most obvious probably is in regards to budgeting. So the reality is that weddings have now become extremely expensive. In the UK, we are talking on average between £20,000 and £25,000 for your average wedding at the moment. Some people may be happy spending that type of money. Some people may not actually even have access to that type of money. And we need to be aware of what our budgets are to move forward in regards to wedding planning. So it is pretty obvious that the more guests you have tends to be the more expensive your wedding day is going to be. With particularly venues, the larger venues tend to be a little bit more expensive to hire. And also when it comes down to catering, the more people you're paying for catering, it tends to be your higher your bill is going to be. This isn't always in every case, but it is in most cases, because after all, people need feeding and people need looking after. There are obviously other options in regards to maybe not inviting people to reception, but inviting them to evening parties and things along those lines. But it is pretty general that the larger the wedding, the bigger your budget has to be. And maybe you don't have access to them types of funds, or even maybe you actually just don't want to be spending that type of money because you have other priorities right now, like buying a house or refurbishing the house or getting your new car. Or actually, would you rather just go on a really extravagant holiday rather than spending that type of money on your wedding day? There is no right or wrong, but we do need to be aware of actually what our priorities and things are. So yeah, pretty obvious really, your financial reality, and if this big extravagant wedding is actually in your budget, or actually is it not. Is about meaningful interactions with your guests. The more guests you have, the harder you will find it to get round to everybody and say hello and say thank you and have a little chat with them. From my experience on my wedding day, you tend to spend less time with your future partner, your one you've just married, because the fact that actually you're generally in separate directions, chatting with your guests and things along those lines. So it tends to be a little bit like, whoa. And by the end of the night, come 11, 12 o'clock, however late your celebration's going to be, you literally haven't seen each other, which is wonderful in regards to the fact that you've got all these magical people to share your celebration with. But however, if that's not what you want, maybe another idea is to go for an intimate celebration and an intimate wedding. So in regards to an intimate wedding, you are talking about a number of people that you're able to physically get around for. These are your closest family and friends, and those people that you know. When we're writing our guest list, you have them people that you know have to be at your wedding. Like we have them people that no matter what, They have to be there, whether it is you changing your date because one person can't be there, or whether it's juggling it around your sister having a baby or something along those lines. You know that person has to be at your wedding day. These are the people we are talking about when it comes down to your intimate wedding, right? This way, you're really close with these people and you're really getting the opportunity to discuss and talk with them and really explore the love and everything that's coming to your wedding day. So this doesn't necessarily mean because you're having lesser numbers that you can't have the celebration you would if you were to be having a big celebrational party. It just means that actually it's going to be a more close-knit celebration rather than something big and very extravagant. Right, so this is the reality check. The stress of wedding planning, and particularly the stress around planning a huge wedding or planning a big wedding or planning a guest list that is so big you just don't know how you're going to cater for them. So if you have a very busy life and you actually want something a lot less stressful, a lot easier to plan, then this is another consideration for an intimate wedding. Because after all, the more people we have to cater for, the larger the venue we're dealing with, the more suppliers we're dealing with, all those things also add on to the pressure and difficulties of wedding planning. So this is another reason to consider your more intimate wedding, because actually the desires and the quantity of things that have to go into wedding planning aren't as extravagant as having a larger guest list. So yeah, do think about that when we are considering what size wedding we want to be. I am not saying you can't have 20 guests, because actually 20 is a really nice number and once again is a very manageable number. It could even be 30 guests. We are just talking about those people that are closest to you, and what you would find out with a more intimate wedding is those people that are closer to you are the people that you can rely on to actually take away some of the stresses and burdens as well, and actually there to support you and help you and plan and organize your wedding as well. With an intimate wedding, we can prioritize quality over quantity, and there are many things that we can tackle into that. So obviously with your type of guests you're going to be having attend, those are the people that you can rely on and things. You could potentially have more of the things that are really important to you. So say for example, if you were to really want to DIY some of your decor and really take that time to make things really personal, you're going to have that time more because you're dealing with less other things when it comes down to dealing with a larger quantity of people and lots of more conversations and lots more planning in regards to food and things. So you're going to get more opportunity to do these personal specialized things actually, because you haven't got the numbers and things, so it's not as an intense and time restrictive planning as it would be for a larger wedding. You will also find out that those people that are in your very close-knit team or close-knit group of people that you're inviting will actually want to get involved as well, and you can actually include some creative experiences with those people and actually make it more meaningful and special in that respect as well. So do consider your quality over quantity, and if your quality is particularly really important and one of your top priority lists, maybe consider reducing your guest count down to a more intimate size so that you're able to then provide that quality that you are wishing to express on your wedding day. So if you see yourself as a bride or groom that has enjoyed their wedding planning process, that is super clear on their wedding guest list and their key priority people that they want at their wedding day, that have the time to be able to create some really bespoke personal things, whether it is DIYing yourself or whether it is working really closely on the detail with wedding day suppliers, intimate weddings may be the option for you. So just before we stop this call, I wanted to discuss with you a bit of a background and a bit of an idea about what an intimate wedding looks like. So when I'm talking about intimate weddings, we tend to think of something very small, very low key, maybe a reception at a registry office, or a ceremony at a registry office, and then going to like a local restaurant and having a table and having dinner together and things on those lines. But it doesn't have to be that way. It could be that you have your celebrant wedding in a venue where you're happiest with. For example, I was desperate to get married on my front lawn when we were younger. However, back then it wasn't allowed, that we had to apply for lots of licenses and things, but sadly that didn't happen. However, now you could say, for potentially you could have your reception on your garden if you're lucky enough to have a decent enough space. You could have your vows and things in front of your close family and friends. You could have a marquee and have catering people come to you to provide your food, because there's so many options for this now. And then once the food and that's done, you could push the tables aside and actually have a party and a celebration. So it isn't that you have to miss out on things. You actually can still have the same type of celebration, but actually just less of a number, which, like I said before, gives you that wonderful opportunity to making sure that you're really treasuring every moment and getting round to all them guests, as well as spending time with the person you have married and want to spend the rest of your life with. Because after all, we want to share this magical experience with them. And there's no better time to start this journey than actually your wedding day yourself. Everything can be very, very much bespoke to you and cater for around what you guys are wanting. Are you wanting midnight photos? Are you wanting to get married when the sun sets? It really, really can be bespoke and around you, because you're planning this more intimate celebration. When you tend to get a larger wedding, you tend to be a little bit restricted when it comes down to larger venues and things, and you tend to have to stick to what they're saying because of the fact that actually you need that venue to cater for that number. But however, with an intimate wedding, you have a lot more flexibility. A lot more places can cater for a more of an intimate wedding, and also you have all these lovely, wonderful luxuries now of actually getting married with a celebrant wherever you wish. So it is worth considering. It also is worth considering if you would like to have more of an intimate reception and then potentially have a good old party, because this is another great option when it comes down to budgeting. And we will also talk a little bit more about this, because I know that now this has become a big option for people to do, is actually to have their marriage with their close family and friends and then have this great big party, because actually tends to be, if we're not directly catering for a wedding party, the doors open up in regards to cost and features and things on those lines. So there's a lot to consider. But however, if you really want that really intimate, getting to know every single guest, getting to make the most of every single guest, then maybe an intimate wedding is for you. Give it some thought.